Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this beautiful blue-green globe of ours. Welcome to Real News Live. This is a special in between Christmas and New Year's Medbed edition of Real News Live. And I have a very special guest today who kindly agreed to come on and spend some time with us. My guest is Kerrie-Ann Thornton from Sydney, Australia. Kerrie, how are you this morning? It's morning for you.
Yeah, it's morning. It's 9:02 a.m. Yeah, I'm really great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Well, I'm not fantastic. I got a million health problems I'd like to fix with a med bed, but I'm
Absolutely.
doing okay. And it takes a while because of the software I use. My YouTube channels don't get notifications until we actually start live. So we're gonna kind of just, let's just shoot the shit a little bit, as we say here in America. And while we get people in here, and then we'll start going. I'm sure Rumble is up and running already. So everybody
Absolutely.
here saying hello. And guys, what I want you to do is if you have your questions, I want you to get them ready, put them in the Rumble chat or put them in the YouTube chat, and we'll get to them when we go to questions. But I'm the host, and so I get to ask all my questions first. So that's the way it works. So, all right, Kerrie, I guess where we'll start a little bit is just with you and your personal story. I know it's unique, and it's it's kind of a big. Ooh, you got big there. Okay, I'm not sure I wanted to make you that big, but let's try. Okay, we're both big. All right, let's just go with this. So how did you've been in, I've written about the secret space program. I've got a book called Hidden Agenda, NASA and the Secret Space Program, that came out about 6 years ago, where I just tried to nail down what evidence is there in actual literature that there was a secret space program and that it might have involved advanced technology. So you had some background in that. And I think that's where you first came across the Medbed technology, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? And just tell us, where were you born? Where'd you
Yeah.
grow up? And how did this happen to you?
Yeah, so I was born in Queensland, Australia, and I had a really, really dull life. Both my parents were Australian ballroom champions, and I love riding horses.
Mm-hmm.
And I rode horses, God, for 38 years or something like that. And what started my spiritual journey was I lived on a property, and the property was fine. It was in the middle of nowhere. Our nearest neighbor was several kilometers away, which was great. I love it that way. I don't like neighbors at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the first year or so, it was fine. There was no spooks or anything, no sign any weird happenings or anything like that. And then one morning I was driving on my way to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was nursing at that time. And I look in the rearview mirror. I was on the freeway, and there was a man sitting in the back seat of my car. You can imagine 4 o'clock in the morning in a country area. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat what I said. It's not fit for any kind of interview or any kind of public.
Oh, you can curse on this show. Don't worry about it. You can curse. Go ahead.
And I pulled over as quickly as I possibly could. I got out. There was no one there. I thought, I've been working quite a few hours, a lot of double shifts, a lot of night shifts. I'm just seeing things. Maybe I just saw a shadow and freaked. Got back in the car. My day went smoothly. Nothing. The very next morning, it happened again. And that's when I started thinking, holy crap, now I'm in trouble. Now I'm seeing things that aren't real. And I did not believe in spirit. I didn't believe in ETs. I was open to the fact that we were not alone, but I certainly didn't actively believe in it. And I thought nothing of it for the rest of the day. And when I got home, my brother said, the weirdest thing happened. I heard you talk to me and you weren't even home. And I went, oh crap. And I said, well, now you mention it. Yesterday morning and this morning, there was a man sitting in my car and there was no one there. And I could see his whole outline, like there was actually a man. It wasn't just like a hologram or
Or
something
a
like that. It was,
flash, yeah, out of the corner of
no,
your eye, yeah.
yeah, it was a full man. I saw the whites of his eyes. He was a black African man. And I'm like, "Ah." So we just laughed it off and we thought, yeah, what if we were haunted? And we don't
Yes,
believe in hauntings or anything like that. We don't believe in
right.
spirit. But what if we were haunted? How cool would that be? And yeah, not so cool. It wasn't cool at all. For the next about 9 months, we had full apparition after full apparition. We had people talking to us when there was no one else in the house. We had our names called constantly. We were touched all the time. Every time I look in the mirror to put my makeup on to go to work, I would see someone else staring back at me. It was, I remember one time I was in the shower and it was a really old fashioned shower and with a shower curtain. And just like in the horror movies, the hand print coming down the shower
Oh,
curtain.
ugh,
Oh, yeah, I screamed my head off and I ran out of there, grabbed my towel, and I can't do this. I would be driving alone or with other people in the car, and I would have someone whispering in my ear, not in my head, but actually whispering in my ear, um, touching my neck while I'm driving. I'm like, I can't do this. I just can't do it. I'm going insane.
yeah.
So I rang every single psychic medium that I could find in Sydney, and everyone was like, no, sorry, can't help you. Sorry, I'm too busy, can't help you. I found one lady, she wanted to charge us $5,000 just to come out and have a look at what was going on. Like,
Ugh,
I have horses, I don't have that sort of money.
mhm,
No way, I wouldn't pay 5 grand anyway. And then we just put up with it for another month or so. And I was scrolling social media at work, and this ad popped up for my local community, and it was a beginner mediumship course that was starting that night. And I thought, great, I've never seen this psychic before. I'll ring her and I'll see if she can help me. And as soon as I got on the phone, she said, say no more. Don't say anything. You've been called. You've been called to work for spirit. Like, what the hell does that mean? Spirit doesn't exist. We're
mhm.
haunted. We want to get rid of them. I don't want to work with them. And she said, I've got a class starting tonight. Just come and have a look and see what you think. And I said, look, I don't want to work with spirit. I don't even believe really they exist. There's crap happening in my house and I want it gone. She said,
Mm,
just come. So I went that night and I walked in thinking everyone here is an absolute psychopath, lunatic. They're all delusional. They're all nut jobs, wackos. The whole psychics aren't real mentality. And she started talking about meditation, and I'm like, this is just ridiculous. Like, doesn't exist. What have I got myself into? And then we started meditation. I followed her instructions, and sure enough, I saw pretty much everything within seconds. What just happened? Going crazy. And then after the meditation, we all went round the group, and everyone said what they saw. People were saying, oh, I felt a breeze. One lady next to me said, I just saw an eyeball just staring at me. Mind you, she was freaked out and she did not return to the class.
yeah, yeah.
And oh, I felt this. Oh, I saw a tree or I saw a car. And then it was my turn. I'm like, I wish I only saw what you guys saw. I saw everything. I literally saw thousands of years of information flash before my eyes within seconds. And everyone's like, are you sure you've never done this before? I'm like, yeah, I don't even believe it. Like, why would I say this stuff? And then at the end of the class, everybody did a reading for somebody else, or tried to, as it was the
Right.
first class. And people were saying, I feel like you may have someone in spirit here, or, just the most basic things like that. I got up and for each person, I went blah, 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 blah. Within 5 minutes, I just gave them like pretty much their whole life story, their past, their present, their future. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, where's this information coming from? And I couldn't control it. Everything was just coming out. And they're like, you've been called. You're now a messenger for spirit. And I'm like, I just want them out of my life. They're like, nah, not going to happen. And then it progressed from there. I actually enjoyed the classes, started to believe that it was real. I mean, how could I know things about people that I've never met?
Mhm.
And yet I just know them. So I started to enjoy the classes, and I did 2 years of mediumship development classes, and then I went and saw a psychic, one of Australia's well-known psychics, Mitchell Coombs, his name is. And at the end, he did a meet and greet. I said to Mum, yeah, we'll meet him and see what he has to say, or just say hello, pay our respects, say thank you for giving us your time. And as he was signing, I think it was a pamphlet or something, he stopped and he looked up at me, and then he went back to signing. Then he stopped and he put his pen down and looked at me, and he said, whatever development circle you're sitting in, you need to stop. You need to become the teacher and begin teaching.
Ooh.
And I hadn't even done a professional reading. I had done nothing at this time. And I went, thank you, thinking, you're a lunatic, you're mad, you're crazy. Nah. And I walked away and I said to Mum, God, be the teacher. Like, really? Come on, that's ridiculous. And a couple of weeks later, I was offered an opportunity to actually travel interstate to South Australia, to be the teacher, to give a workshop and to do a platform demonstration of mediumship readings. And I just thought, why not? I'll never know if I can do it if I don't try. So I did. And I learned more in a 6-hour workshop about myself, about spirit, about everything than I did in 2 years development. And it was the most profound spiritual experience I've ever had.
Yeah.
That's when I truly started.
It's really
Yeah,
funny because that's, people, I mean, I've done a lot of TV here in the US and stuff, and people ask me, I've sold some books, and how did you do this? How did you get there? And I'm like, I said yes to everything, whether I could do it or not.
exactly.
And then I
That's
just did
right.
it. And I found, and
Exactly.
until you open your mouth, you don't know how much
Mhm.
you know until you just start sharing it. And then, wow. Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly right. And it just went on from there. I was invited to appear on Psychic TV as a guest medium. I did multiple radio interviews. It just went from strength to strength.
Right.
Then everything was going great with the mediumship part and the spiritual part. Everything was great. And then all of a sudden, one night in the shower, um, I had this download of information. I just saw myself teaching people to use medbeds, and by this time I had no clue what medbeds were. And I'm like, what's that? And then I watched a couple of sci-fi movies. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
I got
Elysium.
onto yeah, exactly. And then I started watching David Wilcock, Corey Good, Emery Smith, Tony Rodriguez, Randy Kramer, those guys. And the more I watched them, the more I realized I already knew what they were talking about.
Hmm.
I had the memories of it. So they were just the trigger for my memories to return. And then my mediumship went from mediumship to telepathy. And it's not until I went to a specific spiritual church and I got to know the lady after that ran the church, and she was using Ouija boards. She used to run Ouija board sessions after the church service. And she offered for me to stay after I was the guest there. And I'm like, no, Ouija boards, no way. Like,
Yeah.
that's opening portals to the demonic. And she's like, no, it really isn't. That's just a belief of mainstream. It's really not. Who you communicate in spirit is who you will get on the board. If you're communicating with your higher self in spirit, then you will get your higher self on the board. It's only when you disrespect spirit and disrespect the tool, the communication tool, that you will get the lower entities that want to cause trouble, because it's your vibration that actually attracts the spirit you communicate with. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. So it took me three attempts to actually touch the board, 3 different days to actually put my finger on the glass or the planchette. And I got brave enough and I did. And she goes, oh my God, now you're possessed. I'm like, and she said, don't worry, I'm joking. So, and that's when I learnt that the beings I was actually communicating with the whole time was not spirit. It was actually the Venusians and Pleiadians. And that's when I learned that they're actual ETs. They're full advanced multi-dimensional beings.
Now,
And then
Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
it just
No,
went
go ahead
from
and
there to
finish.
there.
Yeah, well, Venus is as far as we know in this reality, is a pretty inhospitable place. So the question, and I think personally, I've written a book about the secret history of the solar system, and I think
Mhm.
personally, the planet that Mars used to orbit exploded maybe millions of years ago, maybe sooner than that. And a big chunk of it ripped the shit out of Venus and
Mhm.
vaporized the oceans. And that's how it ended up in this sort of uninhabitable hell that it is now. So when you say that, I'm like, are you talking about Venus, but a civilization that's maybe underground and survived that or came there afterwards? Or are you talking about Venus in a slightly to the side density or dimension? Or explain that.
Yeah. So the Venus, when we look at Venus through our telescope from Earth in our reality right now, we're
Mhm.
looking at a planet exactly as you described, unhospitable. Um, you can't live there.
800 degrees on the surface and all that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, what we must look at is every single civilization or every single civilization that is 5D or above builds their cities inside the planets so that they don't have the weather and, the
Natural
surface temperatures and
disasters.
all.
Yeah. Yeah. Concerns
Yeah.
about that. Okay.
And that's exactly what we will be doing too in the future, is building our cities inside the planet so we don't get the tsunamis, volcanoes, all of that. So
Okay.
when we look at the Venus we're looking at, there are civilizations inside the planet,
Hmm.
but the civilization and the race that I'm really connected with or from is in another dimension. So if you put the dimensions side by side, you have to go through 3 dimensions to get to the one that I'm connected with. So it is multi-dimensional. And that's the same as Earth. There's many different dimensions on Earth.
Mhm.
Some of the dimensions on Earth have already destroyed themselves through
Now,
nuclear war, through many other things. So this is where it's really difficult for people to wrap their head around when it comes to ETs. It's not if you can see it and touch it, it's real. It's when people say about this reality of Earth or this reality of Venus, which one? Because
yeah.
there are many.
Well,
So
okay. It's
yeah.
interesting. Would you describe it as dimensions or timelines? Because I know Jennifer, my partner, my
Mhm.
co-host, describes it more as timelines. Like in it, like there's 8 different possibilities in any given moment in time. That depending, of course, on the billions of human choices that are made about this planet. I wrote this book in 2010 called The Choice, where I talked about hyperdimensional physics or what you called multidimensional physics, exactly the same
Yeah.
stuff, the evidence for it, how things will happen here in 3 space and you'll get a reaction, halfway across the universe
Mhm.
instantaneously, which is impossible according to the way we think. But in reality, all the signals, all the waves travel through these hyper dimensions.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so are you talking about timelines or are you talking about actual dimensional existences? Because when I say think of a different dimension, I think of, well, maybe slightly different laws of physics. Maybe we don't have to eat there to stay alive, that kind of thing. So what's the distinction
No,
you
it literally is a different dimension, literally. So if you kind of like those Russian dolls,
make?
how you've got so many dolls within the main
Yeah,
doll, it's
yeah.
kind of like that. So you take the top off the first doll, there's another dimension within. Take the top off the next doll, there's another dimension, and so on and so on. And they all exist within themselves. So what we're talking about now is actually affecting every single dimension, realm, multiverse, every single cell, every bit of energy
It
that is
resonates,
ever in existence.
right? So it resonates through everything, like your
Everything.
choices,
That's
the
right.
things that you do. So it's
Exactly.
important. It's important to think about that when you choose to
Yeah,
hurt somebody. That resonates through time and space forever, right? It creates
exactly.
and it contributes.
100%.
Yeah, and
And and every thought you have, like the moment you feel grief, the moment you feel unhappy, the entire collective of source responds to that thought, to that
yeah,
vibrational frequency.
yeah.
And a lot of the times have you ever found yourself feeling all of a sudden just really happy for no reason or really sad for no reason? It's because you're responding to possibly another you in another dimension that is going through something
Having a good
major.
time. Yeah, having a good time. You know, it's interesting
Exactly.
because I have this friend, and I don't know how you feel about the music of U2, but I used to really like it. I have deep suspicions about the members of the band and whether they're good guys or bad guys, and maybe we can talk about that. We can do something later where we can just
Hmm.
talk about public figures and say good guy, bad guy, you know, and kind of do
Yeah,
that.
sure.
That'd be kind of fun because I'm sure you know a little more about that than I do. But I have a friend who's got a tribute band called Hollywood U2, and so I used to, when I lived in LA, I started going to see them. I became friends with Joe. Joe actually got called up on stage by the band once in the Forum in 2015 and sang with them and everything. Incredible talent, and their music would really catch me, and really I would really soar um, in my heart when I would listen to them. So
Hmm.
what my friend's band, and I remember in 2019 or so, you know, I was pretty unhappy. I was living in Seattle. I was not happy with my life, and a lot of things I wanted to be different, including I wanted the freaking RV to be happening. And I remember
Yep.
I went to I was speaking at a conference there, and they were playing nearby in Malibu. I went and saw them and spent 2 hours, you know. And at the end of it, I was just so happy, and I was thinking, God, you know, why don't you want me to feel like this all the time? Why am I stuck in Seattle, away from these friends of mine? I could go see these guys 2 or 3 times a month and feel like this, and it felt like I was reverberating that throughout
Yep.
everything. But then
Yep.
I couldn't sustain it. So what in your mind is the secret to sustaining that state of, it was almost a state of bliss. I was so happy.
Just following your passion in every moment that you can,
Yeah.
literally. Um, and this is something that I've been working really hard with. It's been hard because of the weather here, but riding my new horse. Um, Today I'm going to go see her, and I know that I'm going to be in that euphoric state the whole
Yeah.
time while I'm there and for the rest of the day. And then tomorrow you're on that downwards spiral.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you feel a little bit more flat. And the whole idea is when you are in that euphoric state, it is a glimpse of what you can achieve. And why we come down is because we need to look at things within our own life and our belief system and our choices so that we can heal them, deal with them, so that we can spend more time in the euphoric state and
Hmm.
less time in the down state. So the more you follow your passion, the more you look at yourself and develop yourself
Yeah.
spiritually, consciously, emotionally, all of that, the
Yeah.
more time you will spend in that higher euphoric state.
All right. I just got a
And
flashback
when
to the 80s when I used to do cocaine once in a while. You know? Oh, man. And then you crash. It's like,
exactly,
I realized how it could get so addicting because if you can't handle that crash, you know,
yeah,
then you have to do more, and you have to just keep doing more. I
that's right.
evidently could handle it, but it wasn't
Yeah,
fun.
and
Yeah.
that's right. And this is why people are up and down all the time, because spirit gives us the ups so that we
Mhm.
can see what is possible and how it feels to be in that good feeling state. And then we come down so that we can work out how we can get back up. What are we doing in our life that is stopping us from achieving this the whole time? And this euphoric state is the 5D state.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what it's going to feel like to be in 5D.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
great.
much. Yeah.
Great. And you know, okay, so I have a couple more alien questions, and then
Mhm.
I think then I want to get onto the med beds,
Yep.
which is what everybody probably is tuned into this show today. There's a couple things that I want to talk to you about, which is that one of the things I used to work with a gentleman named Richard C. Hoagland, who his
Mhm.
big thing was the face on Mars, ruins on the moon. I was an engineer. I was actually working at Boeing when I first came across a videotape of him speaking at the UN, and I ended up, you know, by saying yes to everything, and then God just putting everything in my path. Ended
Yep.
up writing with him and working with him, and we wrote a book together, which was very successful, and did some conference. Anyway, his thing was that if you really understand the physics that we exist in this three-dimensional reality, his theory was that all physics is local. In other words, the speed of light can be a little bit different in a different star system that has two
Mhm.
suns instead of one.
Yep.
And so people, you know, with all these things that we depend on to make our observations and assumptions about the universe are not going to work because we're in this localized mentality thinking that the rules here are the same as the rules somewhere completely different in the universe.
Exactly.
You think that's true, or yeah?
Absolutely, 100%. And remember, everything is directional as well.
Yes,
So,
vectors, right, right. Well,
so
I don't want to
you know,
scare you, but let me just tell you a quick story. I don't want to scare you too much, but as an aerospace engineer, I'm working at Boeing. This is like 1994, and back then it was just getting into the computers, right? But I have this manual, design manual, and I'm reading it about the principles of flight, and I just for some reason, it's like Scotty on Star Trek with my technical manuals, right? And
yep.
it says that we don't know exactly why airplane structure will crumple. We just know that under certain conditions, with this stress coming from these vectors, structure will fail. And then it says we don't actually know why airplanes fly, because the principle is that the air passes faster underneath the wing and slower over the wing, and it's curved, and then it pushes the plane up, right? That they call it lift.
Mhm.
But when they did experiments, they found there's like a 5 to 10% missing lift that should be required to get a 400,000-pound airplane off the ground. And then I thought, once I learned these hyperdimensional physics principles, I'm thinking, okay, we're on this planet. The planet is spinning, right? The planet is
Mhm.
orbiting around the sun. The sun is orbiting around the center of the galaxy. The galaxy is orbiting around whatever it's orbiting around, the center of the
Yep.
universe or whatever. And so it's when you add the additional directional vector, when you push the airplane forward, you're actually pulling down more energy from a higher dimension, which is what's giving you that extra lift.
Yep.
And that's Richard Hoagland's basic principle, which is that we can access any amount of energy we want if we just understand where it's coming from and how to generate it. That was more of a speech than a question.
Exactly.
Do you agree with that?
Yep. I absolutely do. And also, what we must remember too is our technology that we have to measure like the Earth's pressure and the atmospheric pressure and all that is
Hmm.
nowhere near capable of figuring these things out as well. So the higher you get from Earth, or the further away from Earth you get, the lighter everything becomes. So even if you go up 10,000 feet, you're already 10 times lighter than what you are on Earth,
Right.
on the ground.
Because
So
gravity, of course, gets weaker.
yeah, yeah, and also magnetics. And as you were talking, I was just getting information as well, is that the magnetics of the universe, we think of, space as nothing. There's
Mhm.
nothing out there, but there's a lot out there. There's energy, there's magnetics, and even from the Earth, we know we've got two moons, the white and the black moon, which keep the Earth stable from wobbling and
I
all
didn't
that
know that.
kind of stuff.
Okay, I didn't know there was a black moon. That's fine.
Yeah, the black moon is the opposite side of the white moon, and
Okay.
there's no one there. It's literally technology to keep to work with the white moon to keep Earth stable.
Okay.
So yeah, and the higher you get, the more vacuum from space you get. So it's pulling the planes up.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
I like to tell people, people will cite experiments with me, right? Like, oh, well, they put an atomic clock on an airplane and they flew it up to 100,000 feet and time passed, faster. And I'm like, no, it didn't. I don't believe that. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm like, time does not exist. Clocks exist. All we know is that if you put a clock at 100,000 feet, time is recorded. It operates differently than it does at sea
that's
level,
right,
right? That's what we know.
exactly.
So the assumptions that the scientists, the people who are supposed to be leading us, make are generally false, I think.
That's right.
So we
You
have this
cannot
whole,
believe the science.
yeah,
Science is based on the human ability, or the human mind's ability to comprehend information.
okay,
And we
yeah,
are such babies. Our
I know.
3D human mind. If you think about the human mind as the Bible, open
Mhm,
the Bible and read the first word. That is what our human mind is capable of comprehending. And then you
right.
got the whole rest of the Bible, which we're not even nowhere near ready to turn the first page, let alone
You know,
anything else.
I could do a whole show with you just on the secret space program, but that's not what everybody, and space and everything else. That's not what everybody's here for. But I do have a couple more quick ones.
Yep.
I'm fascinated by Mars. I've written 2 or 3 books now about Mars and the things that are there. And as a structural engineer, I can look at the face, I look at other pyramidal objects, and I'm like, yeah, That's artificial. Somebody built that. Oh, here's a spar, here's a reinforcing beam. I mean, it's very clear to me. But how much have they lied to us? Is Mars, if you look at Mars, it looks, if you correct the color, NASA takes the color and turns it all red. So it looks very alien. It actually looks like Arizona, only there's not really much vegetation. But now I have some other pictures of rock that appear to have moss and stuff growing on them in the summertime on Mars. So is Mars as uninhabitable as they tell us? Is the atmosphere that thin? Is it really as much carbon dioxide? Or could you and me actually go to Mars and walk around there in our shirt sleeves, just kind of like we are now?
Absolutely, you can walk around on Mars. No problem. You can breathe in the atmosphere. No problem. There is some vegetation. It's more like, if you look at the outback Australia, it's more like that, but it's not red. It's more brown in color.
Yeah.
So, you have your little creepy crawlies and your critters and all that, but you also have other beings. And again, all their civilizations are inside Mars. So you've got tunnels that go inside and just like, what we have under Paris,
Yeah,
all the catacombs and all of that. That's how they live.
Right.
Except
there was a big controversy with me in Hoagland around the year 2001 when they had Mars Odyssey 2001. And they had an infrared camera, which has some ground penetrating capabilities. And it took a picture of the area around the face known as Cydonia. And there was a lot of skullduggery about them putting up the real data. And then as soon as our imaging guy downloaded it, they put up a fake version so that nobody could repeat our work. They were trying to catch us and trick us into, but we of course were smarter than them because they're government employees. So of course we're smarter than them. We didn't get caught. But when we processed it, it's like there's a whole city under the ground. And Richard believed that really you got a sheet of ice there with a little dust on top, but it's really ice from the flood. But there's this whole city under there because the only way we could have seen all the streets and the tunnels and the trains and everything is if the lights were still on. So that was a thing we figured, hey, there might still be somebody down there.
Mars is very busy. Mars has multiple civilizations from different ETs that some get along, some don't, but they usually stay pretty separate. When we went to Mars, we basically wanted their cities, and several races we went in, obliterated all of them and took over.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not so great.
No, I think most of us have started to figure that out since Obama.
We didn't. Put it this way, when we went to Mars, we did not go to help. We went to conquer. And we had a pretty bad reputation from that because we went on to another planet and we mass murdered the races that were there to take what they had for ourselves.
Well,
so that's when the Galactic Council stepped in and said, you know what? We have to help you because we cannot allow you to do that. So instead of being punished or anything, they actually help and they guide. That's a good thing about the really advanced races is they're not going to punish you. They'll say, okay, well, if you want to do this, we know what your intention is, but why don't you do it this way and allow us to help you do it that way instead of doing it your way and causing all this destruction.
The thing is that makes me so angry is it's not our way. Okay. It's a small percentage of low life, low level, low vibration demons, basically, who don't, as far as I'm concerned, represent humanity, who have gotten control of this technology. And one of my books, Hidden Agenda, I said I think we had figured out flying saucer technology in about 1960, and have been exploiting it ever since then. And from that, of course, you can develop weapons. So what pisses me off is that these people are out there representing us, but they're not us. They're not the majority. The majority of people are not like that. The majority of people would not go to Mars and start a war. And it's this small percentage of people who have controlled the banking system and all this stuff for 2,000 years. And we really need to run those fuckers out of town.
So basically what's about to happen is, well, the secret space program is now under white hat control, which is fantastic. There is a small civilization that broke off. They were the Germans, who were very much for, bad stuff. and they are on Mars. They're also got a large ship that they live on as well. And they tell their people that Earth was destroyed and we can't go back, and this is all the humans that remain, and all of that.
Oh,
One day they'll find out the truth.
so everybody on Mars has been lied to that we're not here anymore. So they're stuck
The
on Mars.
civilizations, like
Yeah.
the public, yes. Those in the secret space program, no, they know that they know the truth. But yeah, the ones who's born there and all of that, they believe that Earth was wiped out from nuclear war or asteroid or something.
Maybe in a different dimension timeline, maybe it was, but
It was, yeah, 100%, but just not that one that they're in.
right. Well, there is a line of thought that we're all okay because we're in the timeline that survives somehow, and okay, well, as long as I'm still here and still breathing, I guess I'm in the timeline that survives.
Yeah, exactly. So it is, but the majority of sorry, I got a spider wanting to crawl up my umbrella.
Yeah, literally everything in your country wants to kill you too. It's like,
I know.
Australia and Florida are the same place. Like literally everything there wants to kill you. So don't
it's crazy.
It's insane. I've seen videos of some of your spiders, and they're like,
I
okay,
know.
no, thank
Yeah.
you. No, thank you.
I went down to the river the other day to do a meditation and just sit there and enjoy the river while my horses were eating. And on my way back, I'm just minding my own business. And sure enough, there was this really long black stick. Oh, that's weird. On the end of the stick was a head staring at me. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a red belly black snake. I leave you alone. I just go around the other side.
Those are bad. Okay, folks, those are bad.
Well, red belly black snakes have a really bad reputation. They are the most dangerous snake. But to brown snakes, who are the dangerous snakes to humans, red bellies would more likely headbutt a human than harm you.
Okay.
But they are extremely dangerous to brown snakes. So I was happy when I saw it because it means that I'm safe from the brown snakes.
I'm here in Nevada. It's just basically dirt, and there's hardly really even any scorpions or anything. So we're good in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's funny, I had a friend, Denise Zach, who is one of the best animal psychic I ever knew, and I used to be very close with her, but she had to give it up because it's so painful to her. Like she would feel everything when a pet would pass. So she's not doing that now. But she told me, she said, cats and dogs don't understand English, but horses do. Horses understand your language. They learn it. They can't speak it, but they learn it. And I'll be damned. I went to visit her once in Chicago, and she took me up to visit Steele, her horse. And I was talking to him, and every time I'd say something to him, he would respond. And I said, "Hey, Steele, can I take a picture of you and put it on the internet?" And he turned his head and he said, "Yes." And then he posed for me. I still got that picture. It's great. So you do know that your horses can understand what you're saying, regardless of.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's
good.
That's good. I wish
Absolutely.
I wish my kitties and doggies could, because I'd like my kitty to stop scratching her ear, Miss Fluffy Muffy.
Well, when you talk to animals, the same as when you talk to people, talk with your heart. So whatever you say with your voice, say with your heart, and that's how they will understand you.
Okay, well that's a great tip. I think we all do that consciously, but not
so feel the information that you're giving, and they'll understand.
Okay, well that's great. Also, the thing that got me was you like to live in the rural areas, and I don't. And I don't have any real alien memories, except that I was obsessed with them from the time I was a little boy, right? But I like living in the cities because it seems like it's harder for them to come and get you in the cities. And I was just going to tell you a story when you were talking about living out in the farmland that, my mom and dad grew up in Nebraska and Wyoming. And my dad had one really odd experience when he was a kid, but it wasn't anything alien. But I was sitting there with my Aunt Arlene and Uncle Johnny, and they were both from Nebraska. And my aunt said, this is like 89 or 90, said, we got to go get grandma, her mom. We got to go get grandma off the farm in Nebraska. And I'm like, well, why? And they go, well, because she just can't take it anymore. And I said, well, can't take what? And she goes, well, the men coming around all the time. Men? Yeah, the little men that come around all the time. And then my mom, my Uncle Johnny, told a story about one time mom and dad were in Lincoln, Nebraska, going to a movie one night, and these glowing things came in through the windows, just like passed through the windows, and they were opening and absorbing energy off their chandelier and all this stuff. And it's like, if you
Mm-hmm.
talk to people, especially people that have lived in rural areas, all
Yeah.
of them have weird experiences. Why do you think that is?
Yeah.
Why do you think, is it just that life is slower there and you notice this stuff more, or what do you think it is?
No, I think because the human consciousness, like the collective consciousness, is not yet at a point where they can accept life from other planets.
Mm,
And in rural areas, there's less chance of being seen.
okay.
There's more opportunity to show themselves,
Yeah.
um, for the physical eyes to see, not just the dimensional eyes,
Yeah. Well,
or like the third
tell
eye.
that to the guys who, the aliens who landed in people's backyard here in Vegas last year. That was pretty wild. No, I
That was
talked to
funny.
I talked to a Las Vegas PD guy, and I said, "Well, come on, what happened to the body cam?" He goes, "You're never going to see the body cam footage." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because of what's on them," which is big time.
Exactly.
All right,
Yeah.
let's flip over to the medbed thing. So you got this message that you were to teach people about this, and you are doing that. I think you're absolutely fulfilling that function. So, um, I guess where I want to start is let's talk about the technology.
Mhm.
I know that you get this a lot. I was talking, my brother Dave, who you just met briefly before the show. He came to me about 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, and he said, I had a dream last night about med beds. And I said, "Oh, what was it like?" He goes, "Well, because I was laying there, and they took this thing that looked like a wand, and they scanned it over me." And he said, that was really weird. And then literally like a week later, you started talking about how they have this wand device that they scan you with when you first go there. So it's totally weird. He's had a dream about that. And he also had a dream about the exchange process, the RV exchange process.
Yep.
And he described it to Mark Z, or Mark Z, if you're Australian, you call him Mark Z. And Mark has actually knows people who have redemption centers and actually went through the process years ago when they thought it was going to happen as training. And he says that's exactly the process. So Dave's got some weird thing. So tell us about the wand, and then we'll talk about the technology. There's different kinds of beds, and so
Yeah.
shoot, go for it.
Yeah. So the healing wand, you you can use it as a scanner. You can use it as healing. Pretty much, it heals pretty much anything and scans anything biological. So plant, animal, human, fish, anything. And basically, it is a mini med bed in your hand. So it's about a foot long, maybe a foot and a half long. And I believe that the handle actually retracts when you're not using it, so you can carry it around in your backpack or your handbag.
Yeah.
And yeah, on the end, one end is obviously the handle. On the other end, there is like a screen. It's like a rectangle shape, and you press a button, and you hover it over the body or the part or plant, whatever, about an inch and a half above. And on that screen, it will show you if there's a fracture. It will show you if there's a tumor, splinter, abnormal cells, anything at all. It'll show you. It'll come up on that screen. And then you can use that as a diagnostic, or you can press another button and it'll heal it. So you keep it there, hovering over that part of the body, and within minutes, that broken bone or whatever is healed. So
So
it's
that's
a mini bed in your hand.
Yeah, it's a healing wand.
Yeah,
Because can we say the other guy's name? The J guy, JR? Is it okay if we talk about him?
yeah, go for it.
Jared Rand, because he talked
Yep.
about how at some point med beds are just going to be like another appliance you have in the house, like your washing machine or your dishwasher or something like that. And I thought, well, I wonder how they'll do that. But this makes a lot of sense in terms of a simplified technology
That's
that
right. Yeah.
doesn't like, okay, so like I don't have a gallbladder, so I assume that's not gonna grow me a new gallbladder.
No,
But
no.
it will say, oh, he's got diverticulitis, he's got inflammation in his sinuses, and it can just clear all
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you're not going to have a med bed in your home. There's no need for it. You only need a med bed like once every 20 years, unless you're a daredevil or someone stupid who likes to do
Evil,
ridiculous things like jump out of planes.
Evil
You
Knievel,
don't exactly. You don't need a med bed in your home.
yeah.
For general health, it's just once every 20 years. That's it. So having a med bed in your home makes zero sense.
Okay.
But the healing wands don't regrow limbs. They don't regrow organs. They're
Mhm.
like an emergency tool. So every ambulance will have one. Every police car will have one. Pretty much everybody will be able to have a healing wand eventually. So I
Okay.
don't know how quickly that's going to roll out. It'll roll out to the humanitarian projects and to emergency personnel first,
Mhm.
and then it'll go from there. But yeah,
So
everybody will eventually have one in their home.
okay, so you have the wand, which is the basic. It heals you as you are now, like it
Yeah,
will heal your circulation, clears your arteries, whatever it needs to do.
it
Uh,
can do that. It can do that. That would take a bit more time, and you'd
o-
have to change the settings on that. So the healing wand's main purpose is for local minor things.
okay, so you got the flu and you're really sick and you're done. You don't want to throw up anymore, and it scans you and it fixes whatever is going on with your body, like that.
Yeah,
Like
so if you again for something like that, you would have to change the frequency for it because it's
okay,
all based on frequency.
right.
So for the simple thing like a broken bone or a chipped tooth or something like that, it would take 1 to 2 minutes. It's very basic. If you need to clear a blood clot, basic. If you need to clear your blood vessels and do a general healing, that would probably take about 30 minutes. Again, you would have to switch the cycle of it. So
Okay, so there are I hear what 3 or 4 different kinds of medbed technology. Is that
mhm.
correct, or is it which one is it? Is it
Yeah, there's three. There's many more actually. There's a lot more that's
Mhm,
being developed, but there's three main ones that we will be using. So you've got the general healing med bed, which you basically just lay on, and a holographic image is above you, and you can see everything being healed. A general healing for a healthy person would take no more than 10 to 15 minutes.
mhm,
But then the second med bed is for regrowing organs and limbs and things like that.
mhm.
And depending on what you need regrown, obviously will depend on the amount of time taken.
Okay, so like on my left hand, this is my ring finger, which I find it ironic. It's my wedding ring finger. This finger just stopped growing when I was about 12 years old, and I don't remember. I know I heard it in football. I think playing American football. And by the way, 2 questions: Does the water really go down the drain the wrong way in the southern hemisphere? And can you explain the rules of Australian rules football? Because it looks like total mayhem to me. I'm sorry.
The water, I haven't taken any notice. I couldn't tell you.
Okay, okay. Well, it either goes. Tell us if it goes clockwise, okay, or
I'll let
counterclockwise.
you know.
Up here, it goes clockwise.
I, actually,
Um,
yeah, I don't know. I'll have to have a look. I haven't
okay, so
taken any notice.
like in the first level med bed, can I say, look, this finger should be as long as the other one on my right hand, right? There's a whole joint difference there. It just
Yep.
stopped growing. I don't know if it just was a genetic thing or if it was like the switch just got turned off or if I injured it. I don't really remember. I was 12 years old. So would the first level med bed like fix something like that? Is that
Absolutely.
okay?
Yeah, it would because it's a general healing. Yeah.
Okay. You know,
So the general healing takes your body back to perfection.
right.
Okay. So the limb and organ regrowth is
Mhm.
something a bit more specialized. So for a little finger, no problem for a general healing. For a leg or an arm,
My
something
gallbladder. I
much
want my
bigger.
gallbladder. Yeah, I want my gallbladder back
Yeah.
in. That's a second level med bed, right?
Yeah, if I was your medbed operator, I would organize the second medbed for you. So
Okay.
because it's
Okay.
a gallbladder, it's a bit more involved, it's a bit
Right.
more specialized. So that med bed, you lay on the bed and it's got like a metal bar. It's not metal, it's some other way out there to technology or something.
Yeah.
And it goes up and down. I believe it goes up and down. It's been so long since I've seen them, I can't remember the details of each of them.
Mhm.
And it goes up and down above your body, and it'll heal you um, like that. And depending on what you need regrown, that also does a general healing at the same time. So you don't need to go on the first med bed and then the second one.
Right.
So you just have
Okay.
the second bed. And then the third one does more complex procedures like age regression, uh, multiple like severe MS,
MS. I have
Really
a
severe things.
yeah. You know, Mark has. I think it's MS that Mark has, and
Yeah,
so you can go into a third level med bed. And you know, people with genetic diseases like that, people that have had strokes,
yeah.
I imagine, um,
It
older.
depends on the severity. Yeah. So generally for strokes, if they're just like a bit of weakness and things like that, they would just have a general healing, no problem. If you take someone who's on life support because they've had a massive accident, they could just have a general healing, but immediately I would put them on the third bed, just because it's more specialized and stronger. It's for yeah, if you get my drift, it's more
Yeah,
detailed.
yeah.
The strength in it's a lot more. Yeah.
So it's almost like buying a car with more options on it, right? It's
Yeah,
like you just
exactly.
this one also has air conditioning and then you know all electric
Yeah.
doors and the rear gate comes down if you just push a button. You don't have to actually put so
Ex-
it's
exactly. So for yourself, I would put you on the second bed. For Mark Z, I would put him on the third bed. So yeah, and
now
for myself would be on the first bed.
I
All
hear
good.
rumors about this thing that called the celestial chamber where
Hmm.
you can change. Well, we'll ask you about this on the third bed, where you can live forever as long as you want. You know, you can have a physical body for as long as you want. I don't know about that, but whether that would be desirable or not, you know, we'll have to wait and see how bored I am after 200 years, right?
Well, the
Um,
Medbed does that too. The
okay,
Medbed with the general healing, if you have a general healing every 20 years, you
yeah,
can live for thousands of years, because
okay,
every 20 years you're fully regenerating all your cells,
okay.
basically starting new again.
No,
And when you've had enough of life, the Medbed will also help you to pass into the spirit. Will also stop your heart in a very nice, positive way. So while it can give life, it can also take life as well when
right.
you're ready.
Um, what about like how does it do this? Because Rand talks about how well basically everything in the universe is plasma. So it changes you back to a plasma state and then reprograms you according to your corrected DNA. And you know, there's experiments where they shine a certain frequency laser through a salamander into a frog tadpole and it turns it into a salamander. We've heard about these things. I don't know if they're true or not. But is it that kind of thing? Is it like it turns you into sort of a in between state, and then it's almost like having your whole body being stem cells, and you can build it into a different form or an
Yeah,
optimal.
absolutely. Yeah, and the one thing about this technology, and I think this is why I don't mention it very often, is because people freak out, is because your cells are not solid. Your physical form is not solid, and it is only a projection of your consciousness.
Yeah.
The medbed technology can take your human form and change your restructure your cells into something else. So the medbed can literally take your human form and turn you into a dog or a cat or a giraffe,
Oh, there's
an
a whole
elephant,
bunch of furries
a
out
fish.
there. That's going to be really bad. Well, this brings up spiritual questions because there's people with emotional disorders in this world. There
Mhm.
are that they, you know, uh, they're a boy, they want to be a girl, all these different things. They want to be, you know, there's the whole furry
Yeah.
thing, which is pretty weird. At least I think it's weird. The thing
Oh,
is
me
that
too.
so can you then alter your appearance too? Can you become a completely different physical form
Absolutely.
and at what level? Because well, okay, explain that, and then I'm going to talk about why I'm not sure I like that. But go ahead. Tell
Yeah.
us how it works.
Yeah. So basically, the medbeds, a general healing, will remove all the poisons, toxins, heavy metals from your blood, from your body, and a lot of those poisons and toxins actually determine the chemistry in your brain. What that does is that makes you think things that aren't true,
Mhm.
or it puts you out of balance. So with the furries and things like that, they
Oh,
won't exist.
because
They
they'll be
won't have
bad.
those desires anymore because the chemicals in their brain have been rebalanced and all those toxins removed. So they won't want to be a furry anymore, which I'm trying very hard not to burst out laughing right now because I find it hilarious.
Well, I don't know. I
But
just saw some video the other day where it was like a comedy video about this couple, trying to like both ask each other. They wanted to both be furries, but they were both afraid to tell the other person that's what they wanted. It was just
Exactly.
hilarious. But
It's just, yeah, but again, it is a projection of what the spirit wants to experience. So we've all been poisoned by vaccines and all sorts of different things. The food we drink, the food we eat, the water we drink, everything has been poisoned. But some people respond very, very differently to what is normal, and that is because their spirit chooses those particular experiences. And
those
when they go
challenges.
through they go through the med beds, they're going to have memories of wanting to be a furry, and they're going to be most likely embarrassed and think, "Oh my god, what the hell?" Oh, okay,
How do they get off on
possibly.
that tangent? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not the embarrassment. It's not the idea of it. It's how do they work with that experience to move forward in a positive way in their life. So how do they use that experience mentally to move forward? They may become counselors to other people who have also gone through the same or similar thing. So it is a positive thing. And we look at things like furries and all of that as possible mental disorders or just role playing,
But it's
you could
actually
call it that.
it's
It's
actually
actually setting them up for a
yeah.
positive future. And they
Okay.
can either use it to better themselves and learn from and help others, or they can go the other way and really sink back into themselves and destruct their life, basically. And that's
Yeah.
when people go to drugs, go to alcohol, is to um, numb those thoughts and feelings that they once had, and they
Yeah.
can't deal with it. So it is an opportunity that the spirit gives the human mind and gives the person to really test themselves to use it in a positive way.
Okay. So I'm about 215 pounds, and all man, ladies. But I would rather weigh, I don't know, 175, 185.
Mhm.
I actually feel like I look great at about 190. So I'd like to lose about the proverbial 25 pounds. So
Yep.
in a medbed session, let's say a first level healing session, can you get rid of excess fat that you no longer need? Like, can I pick a body fat percentage and say, well, my body fat percentage is 38. Let's take it down to 18 or something. Is that something that you can do?
Absolutely, you can. Now, if you want to make those changes, you need to be higher frequency. So, a general healing, everyone can be healed. But if you want to make any kind of changes, you do need to be of a higher frequency, which you are. But a
I'm
general
not.
healing
I'm not sure you'd think that if you followed my Twitter feed, but okay, go ahead.
frequency comes from the heart, and you've got a good heart.
Oh, thank you.
Uh,
You do too.
so, if you are severely obese, you don't work out, you sit around on the computer all day playing games, you don't make any kind of healthy choices,
Yeah,
you eat fast food all the time.
yeah,
If you're that kind of person and have no interest in helping yourself,
yeah. You want some chocolates? Yeah. Okay.
that's all right.
You're
Then,
describing me. It's not going to
then
work.
you'll be not well. It will work, but you won't be allowed to. So you'd be put into a 3-month program where you would be put on an exercise program, where you'd be put on a diet, where you'd actually have to make an effort to improve your lifestyle choices. And then if you have made the effort after 3 months, then you get your medbed treatment, which would then take the weight off.
So
If
I'm.
you,
Go ahead.
yep, if you're severely obese or quite obese, and you're making every effort possible to lose the weight, but nothing works, then you won't have to go on a 3-month program. You'll be able to just take the weight off.
I know somebody
So it
like.
all depends on your intention and your choices.
Yeah, it's interesting because I just made a promise to my doctor. I just visited my doctor. I'm a Dr. Pepper addict. I love it. And it's funny because I do, I write and I'm podcasting, I'm doing things and I'm always using my mind. And this has worked with me for me like this since I was started working at Boeing, which is that, I need the sugar and the caffeine. Like I can
Mhm.
literally take that first drink of Dr. Pepper and I can feel it waking me up and my mind
Yeah.
kicking in and everything. But of course, there's all the deleterious effects of it too. So I made a promise to my doctor. I'm going to go down to one little mini can of Dr. Pepper as my New Year's resolution. So you're saying you have to do something like that and stick
Yeah.
with it to show that you're of the right mindset to
Exactly.
receive this.
Exactly. Because the whole idea of introducing the med beds to the public is to raise the consciousness of the people,
Right.
is to improve the life of the people and get out of the program that we've been programmed from the 3D, from the cabal. So it really is, it's not about just getting in a med bed and being healed and then feeling great. You have to have healthy life choices. So if you
Right.
go to the supermarket and there's a chocolate bar and a banana, they do expect you to buy both,
Yeah.
but choose the banana first.
Right.
So everything in, yeah, I can't do that. Everything in moderation.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things. And of course, my 64-year-old brain is dropping the ball here. But yeah, it's like my sugar addiction is it blinds you to other things. Sugar is
Mhm.
so good, and it's good. I mean, it was a key part of the development of higher intelligence in human beings, hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
But it's like you forget when I've tried to do the Atkins diet thing or the carnivore diet, and I've almost gotten over that hump, right, a few times.
Mhm.
And it's like I remember thinking one time, God, you forget how good a tomato tastes when you're
Yeah.
constantly drinking Dr. Pepper and popping chocolates and eating ice cream. You forget how good a plain old tomato or an apple tastes. You
Yeah,
just really do.
that's right. Exactly. And I just started a boot camp 3 days ago. No sugar, no chocolate, no
Ugh.
takeaway. I lasted 12 hours because what I found is that when I go on a diet,
Yeah.
I lose my connection to spirit is not as clear as
Mm.
when I eat all the junk, and that works for me.
Wow.
So what I'm doing to, because I want to lose 100 kilos if I could, but no, I want to lose a few kilos. So what I'm doing instead is exercising, and
Hmm.
that makes me feel good. And as I was told yesterday, the moment you focus on losing weight is the moment you're not going to lose weight because that's your focus. So you're manifesting the weight as you're trying to get rid of it. So focus on feeling good within yourself, and the weight will start to just fall off
Interesting.
because you're not focused on the weight.
Focus on feeling like how you felt when you were a weight
Feeling
that you're
good.
happy with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just simply focus on feeling good, and
Mhm.
everything else will come. And exercise makes me feel good, so I focus on feeling good through exercise. And what I notice is the weight just comes off.
Right.
So it's all about the different mindset. And, gyms are full of people focusing on losing weight,
Yeah.
and they wonder why they can't. It's
Yeah.
because they focused on it. You're manifesting what you focus on. So, yeah.
What about somebody told me a trick once? Just pick the weight that you want to be. Like, let's say I pick 170 and just put it up on your bathroom mirror. So every time you go in the bathroom and you look in the mirror, you see 170. You think that works? I don't know. I've never
No,
really had it work.
no, because you have to believe and behave and feel as though
Mm,
you're 170. If
right.
all you if all you're just thinking of 170, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's the same with people who want to run medbed centers as humanitarians, and they're bickering on social media now. They're not medbed center material because in order for them to manifest a medbed center that they want to run, they have to be that person now. They have to be in alignment with it. And if they're
Already.
bickering on social media, it's not going to happen for them because they're not in alignment of who they want to be. So who they want to be is not going to manifest.
I see.
So
Okay. Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the thing that I think I have the most problem with, and of course, the basic assumption here is that all of this is true. And I've been in the weird world long enough to know there's a lot of technology and a lot of things out there that we have that we don't know we have, and that
Yeah.
fell back. So when I heard about this, I knew it was almost certainly true. And the more I dig into it, and the more I understand the logic behind all of it, the more convinced I am that these med beds are for real. So we are going to
Mhm.
speak of them simply as if they're real,
Yep.
because they are. And
Yeah.
the okay, so the problem here's where I get into things that I'm not so sure of. Okay, I'm a guy. I'm 5'9". If I weighed 170 or something, I'd look really good. Are you? So you're telling me I could walk out of a Medbed appointment, whichever level it is, level 2 Medbed or something, with a six pack. I don't think I've had a six pack since I was like 12 or 13 years old. So I could walk out of there and all that stuff. But I'm also a skinny guy. You know, it's funny. I weigh 215 now. I remember when I was insanely starving myself and exercising like mad and trying to please my wife. And I got down to 160 pounds. So imagine 160 pounds. That's 55 pounds less than I weigh right now. I mean, I'm a skinny guy. I'm not a big guy. So here's the thing.
Yep.
Can I also get a bigger chest and stronger arms and bigger biceps? And then, of course, we get into the question that all men actually want to know the answer to. And you know what it is.
I do. And the answer is yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, I mean, like, I like mine. We're talking about, by the way, for the audience, we're talking about Mike's penis now. We're going to do this for a second. I like it just fine. I don't really want it to be bigger necessarily, but I wouldn't mind being a little bit thicker and a hair longer, half an inch longer, you know, that'd be fine. So I can change these things about myself. I kind of like, as I've gotten older, I've gotten more of a little hump in my nose. I want to get rid of that. I want to straighten that out. And then I'll be pretty much, but I want to be like, I feel like I chose this physical appearance and everything about it before I was born. I chose this. If I was suddenly 6'3" and good enough to play quarterback for the Seahawks, that I would be a different person, and that wouldn't be what I came here for. So, then the question gets to be, is like, okay, is 5'9", 5'10", is that tall enough, or do I need to be 6 feet? If I'm 6 feet, I'm going to be more attractive to women. If I have bigger muscles, if I have a slightly bigger Johnson, or whatever. Then why not just change everything about me? But then I feel like I've lost the direction my spirit chose for this lifetime. So if people can do that, is that okay? I mean, I can see if you have a cleft palate, something like that, but how is that okay? How is that okay? And do you think humanity is ready to have that kind of control?
Well, I asked this of Archangel Sandalphon, and I had a really good conversation with him. He's really wise, by the way, which annoys the hell out of me sometimes when I want to argue, but he's really cool. And he said, think of it this way. The physical body is the canvas for the soul. The physical body is the canvas for the soul. And this is the reason why they put a minimum vibrational frequency on the med beds in order to change anything about yourself. Because people not in a higher vibration will not be able to handle it. They get addicted to plastic surgery. They don't like themselves because they're running away from themselves. They have self-image issues. Where if you're at a higher vibrational frequency, you're happy with yourself. You know, everything's perfect. So then your body becomes the canvas for your soul. So your body is the artist. You are the artist of your canvas.
And there's another thing
you can change.
Right, which is that, you know, when a girl chooses to be with you, right, when she decides she wants to be with you for, you know, whatever length of time that might be, it's like she's choosing you. But if I turn myself into a Ken doll, is she really choosing me anymore? So there's a certain like level of, I don't want to say satisfaction, but affirmation that that I'd have to question. And I'm like, you know, is the world really going to be that interesting if we all look like Barbie and Ken?
Well, if a girl chooses you for you, she won't care what you look like. If she's choosing you for your looks, then she'll have a problem with it.
Yeah, well, she'll care a little bit. I mean, come on. Come on, Kerrie.
So, because remember, we're moving into a conscious society where the physical body means nothing.
Yeah.
It's all about the consciousness and the spiritual connection with each other. And this is where people have a problem with age regression, having an 80-year-old looking like a 25-year-old. 25-year-old is going to ask out another 25-year-old when in fact they're actually 80.
Yeah.
And people have a huge problem with that. But if we're moving into a conscious world, you're not going to have a problem with that because age is just a number and it no longer exists. See, once the med beds are introduced, you will never be your age. your physical age, because your physical age with a general healing is going back 20, 30 years. That's
See,
just with a general healing.
that's interesting because I have an interest in a young lady who is 24,
Hmm.
and involved in aliens and secret space programs and stuff. And and I'm interested in her, and I know we like each other, but there is a big age difference. But it's
Hmm.
like if I age back to 35, because here's the thing, I'm already a somewhat well-known, not well-known, but known public figure, right? People know
Yeah,
who I am. People have seen me. So if I suddenly turned up looking 25, nobody would take me seriously, I don't think, as seriously as they do now. But if I was 35, I still might have a little bit of age on me, appear. So then that age gap would be, I'd be 25, I'd be 35, she'd be 25. So then it would purely be about how we related on every other level, right? So then
that's right.
okay. So
Yeah. And
um
you're still thinking in the 3D mindset
yeah,
where you're looking at the visual rather than the spiritual. So if you think about when the hybrids and the ETs come, they are millions of years old, millions of years. And even when we receive our memories back, we will realize we're millions of years old. So age and the
yeah, like
physical, it
I've got
doesn't
all
even
my
come
other,
into it.
so I'll get
Yeah.
all my other lifetime memories back.
It depends if you're ready for it. You will
Okay.
get what you need back. So you won't get all back. You will
Yeah.
get what you need. So what's
Well,
relevant to this lifetime?
yeah, because don't you bring like you don't bring every lifetime into this lifetime. You bring
No.
maybe certain specific ones that you want to work on, issues you had, from
Yeah.
before, so, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
Exactly.
what's my fascination with German tanks? I'd like to know that. Where did that come from? Not anything after World War II, just Panzers. I don't know why I'm so fascinated by them, but there's that. Yeah, maybe I'll find that out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
ancient Rome and Mark Antony. Why am I so fascinated by that? So, okay. So, one, I guess, last question before we go to like the general audience questions, which are going to be
Mhm.
ones I'm sure you get all the time, which is, how long do you think this process takes? Let's assume the RV happens this week, and
Mhm.
yeah, yay, we're all ready for that.
Yep.
And we get the med beds in January. How long do you think? I mean, I look at it and I say it's at least a generation before everybody gets used to this idea. I think there's a lot of folks who are not going to want the med beds because they're not going to
Correct.
trust them.
Yep.
And then the same thing with the monetary reset, which is that, I think there's a lot of people, it's going to be a while before the human race is ready to work without money. I think
Yeah.
we're always going to have this thing where there's going to be rich people and maybe not poor people anymore, but people that have less. And I feel like with humanity that we need that challenge, right? There needs to just
Mhm.
doesn't there need to be something like, I'm 64. I was an aerospace engineer. I'm basically retired. I don't have to be doing anything except sitting around watching sports, collecting my pension, and hanging out at the bar with the boys once in a while. But I'm constantly driven to do things, to write books and to do shows and to be on these kinds of interviews with you because I want more. So,
Yeah.
how long do you think it takes before humanity reaches a point where that's not necessary for us? Because I look at like, oh, okay, you take this 22-year-old dude and you give him pure health and universal basic income, and he's going to sit around and smoke weed and play video games all day. So am I wrong about that, or how long do you think it takes for us to get to a level where we don't operate that way anymore? We all do
Yeah.
something, you know?
Yeah. Look, it's going to take a while. I think at least 50 years if we stay on this projected timeline that we're
Yeah,
on right now.
yeah.
I think it'll speed up once full ET disclosure. It'll speed up a lot because that's when people will go, well, now there's so much more opening up to me. When people get out of the slave system, when they're no longer having to work to survive, and
That's right.
they'll realize their passions, they'll realize what they actually love to do,
Hmm.
and they'll be able to do it. So they'll have that freedom,
Yeah.
but it will take a while. And one thing that Ra has always told me is when the RV happens, never look at price tags. Don't look at price tags. And the reason is because we're so focused on can we afford it? Can
Hmm.
we afford it? We're in that lack mentality that when you don't look at price tags, you're out of that lack mentality, which brings in more abundance because
I
you know
remember
you can afford it.
there were times
So,
when
yeah,
when I worked in LA, yeah, I was making great money, and I mean, it's $20 to valet park here at this nightclub. Okay, well, I'm going to make that the first 13 minutes I'm at work tomorrow. So here you go, and that
yeah,
is true. And then
that's
was
right.
interesting. The more I had, the more I came across people who needed something. The
Exactly.
person who knocks on your window, do you have $20 for gas? And sure, I have it in my pocket. So that's really
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
right. And it
that
only takes 30 days to reprogram the mind. So
hmm
if you do it consistently. So that's one thing they've really stressed is do not look at price tags so that you can recondition your mind and get out of the lack mentality.
yeah,
And if people can do that, they'll be more abundant quicker, which means that we will ascend consciously faster. So
right.
again, it's not something that we can really answer because it's based on each person's mindset and how
Oh,
they go. Um, which contributes to the collective.
oh
But
yeah.
in general speaking, ideally, according to Ra, it's 3 to 5 years. My thinking is 50.
Okay, yeah. I think it's a couple generations. I would agree with you that
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
couple generations because we're always going to have slackers, and what are we going to do with them?
we
So,
are. But then again, the slackers will not be moving into the new earth either. Their life, their 3D life will be completed and they'll return to spirit. So eventually they'll only be the new earth people.
yeah,
So
the new earthers, we'll call ourselves
yeah,
that.
yeah, the
Okay,
new earthers, exactly.
my brother Dave has a question. Do you age after a med bed treatment? I assume you age at the
Yeah,
same pace, but you're going to be
no,
so optimized health wise. Sorry, yeah, you're going to be so optimized health wise. The age is not going to show, right?
that's right. So if you take now, right now, you age over 20 years, you age 20 years. After
Right,
Medbed, for 20 years, you'll age maybe 3 or 4 years.
yeah,
So it's a lot slower because you're healthy.
right.
Your
I
body
remember
can actually do its job.
when my dad was 50, he was so old. He smoked
Yeah.
cigarettes, drank that rot gut coffee they used to have in the offices in the 50s and 60s, and
Yeah.
his hair was all gray. And I was 50. I mean, I look like a freaking rock star. I was the best I've ever felt in my life, probably.
Yeah.
And I know that people age slower because we're generally healthier than we
Yeah.
probably were then.
Correct. Yeah.
And also we're moving into energy fields, I believe, where there's more life energy overall on the earth.
That's right. Yeah.
So
It's a lot more positive
yeah,
energy coming in. So we're moving into the higher frequencies, which
right,
means that we're taking in the more positive energy all the time.
right.
And that is slowing down the aging process
Yeah.
because
You know,
our cells are basically almost like stem cells. You're regrowing your cells all the time
yeah.
in a positive environment, where in a negative environment, your cells are dying,
Now,
which
if
is
I could
causing you to speed up aging and get sick.
regrow the hair on my head, then I'd be much happier. I've told God that, well, actually, Jesus. I told Jesus, you know what, dude? If you give me back this hairline, and I'm going to find it. If you give me back this hairline, buddy, I'm going to. Well, I'll show it to you in a second. I promised him I'd wear my hair like this for a year if he gave me back my 1980s hairline, which I will look up in a minute. Okay, so we have this new world that's at our fingertips, right? And
Mhm.
everybody has specific questions about specific issues, but well, I've asked all the questions. Why don't we go to I completely lost what I was going to ask. Will that fix that? Yeah. People were asking me things like, what happens to if I have implants, if I have breast implants, or I have metal plates, and it just dissolves all that stuff, right? It just disappears.
Correct. Yeah, the medbed will dissolve all implants. If you've got a bandage or a drain or someone's on life support, it'll dissolve all of that, regrow the damaged area or cells or whatever, and you come out brand new. Same with your teeth. The medbed will dissolve all your teeth and regrow brand new teeth, unless you want
That I need.
unless you don't want that
Yeah,
to
I've
happen.
lost a few teeth. No, I want all my teeth back. I want my wisdom teeth
Yeah,
back and everything. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm totally down with that. All right, I'm gonna start over on the Rumble side and just get a few questions over there. We can't show
Mhm.
them, unfortunately, but those people are in there first and they're supporters, and I really appreciate that. So let's get to some of those, and we'll just sort of. I'm sure these are questions you get all the time.
Sure.
And animal med beds are coming too, right? We'll be able to get our pets,
Yeah,
but we won't be able to
absolutely.
age regress our pets, correct?
Well, the animal healing chambers is the same technology as the med beds. It's just set up differently to accommodate the animals. So the chambers can age regress animals, but I don't think the military is going to allow that because there really is no reason. Because the general healing will make them younger anyway.
Okay. I'm still looking for that picture. Okay, there it is. I got it. I got it. All right. All right, Kerrie, here we go. Hang on. My deal with Jesus right now is if you give me back this hairline, I will wear my hair like that. I promise. You'd look good with that haircut, Kerrie. You really would. All right.
That's a good haircut for the 80s.
It's a good hair.
And
It was
a lot of
good.
people around here have it right now.
Yeah, really? Is Australia still like that? So,
Yep,
all right.
yep.
Let's
They
let
won't.
the people participate. And by the way, we've got about 2,000 people in here today. So good for you.
Mhm.
A lot of people saying hello, greeting you, Kerrie-Ann, Shilin. Okay, so yes, thank you. We appreciate you. Okay, Gary, I'm not going to ask any of your joke questions. Ron Davidoff, who's one of the best people on the planet, says, great idea for a show. Well, I've always wanted to talk to Kerrie, so the best way to do it is to just put her on the air and ask her. So let's get our questions going. A lot of people liked your backstory. Okay. Okay, this is interesting. Rainbow 13 says, Kerrie, can a single person use the Ouija board? I've heard it's something you should only use in pairs. Does that make certain sense? Or
Yeah, you can use a Ouija board on your own, but you need to be very high vibrational
okay,
to be able to use it.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's
Um,
better in pairs. It's more fun.
and and yes, thank you to Wolvie for setting this up. He kind of made everything happen. We appreciate that very
Yeah,
much. Um,
absolutely.
okay, explain the different types of med beds and what they do. I think we've kind of been through that. In the secret space program, at what age were you taken and what occurred while you were there? A lot of this is kind of negative though. So it's up to you how much you want to go into.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I was created by the secret space program and the Venusians. Both of them created me, so I was created for this purpose. So I wasn't taken, I was created.
Okay.
And I didn't realize, if I look back now, I started having experiences when I was 12,
Hmm.
but I didn't realize what it was. It's just like, yeah, that's weird. Okay, keep going. Um, but yeah, basically with the SSP, I've done 80 years as a contractor uh, to educate people and as a senior medbed operator and consciousness coach. And that's
Oh,
my job here.
so you're stuck in a
So,
contract for another 60, 70 years, right? You haven't been doing this that long, right? So you're stuck with this
well,
for a while.
well, no, I've actually completed my contract.
Oh,
I'm done, but I still help out every now and then. So, which is nice.
okay. So now I remember
Like,
what my other question was. I have a couple of moments in my life that are cringe moments, like, God, I wish I hadn't said that, or gosh, I
mhm,
wish I hadn't done. They're both kind of things I said. One's a thing I did, but and I was very young, and it's like you can go through the whole process and like, oh, you forgive yourself for it, and you wish you hadn't done that, and but they're just things that when I think about them, I kind of cringe. They're not like major traumas, and I
mhm.
didn't do anything bad, really. Well, anyway, I was a little. But can a med bed fix that kind of thing? Can it?
No,
It can't take that cringe away from me, right? I have to work through that.
no. Yeah, you have to work through that because you said those things for a reason. And if
Hmm.
you find the belief of why you said it and what you believed at the time and deal with that, then the cringe will go away because you understand that you had to say it in order for you to have the revelation about the belief that caused the cringe. So that's something that you need to deal with and heal.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, bummer. Um, what does Joe wants to know? What does Kerrie-Ann know about the moon that most people don't know? I know a lot about the moon. I've written a couple, 3 books about it. But what do you know that we don't know about the
Well, first thing, what most people don't know is the leader of the reptilians on the moon is the Egyptian god or king, deity, whoever, as you know, as Akhenaten.
moon? Okay, right there. Yeah. The
And
goal. Correct.
and he actually is a really nice guy. He really is. Even though he's the leader of the reptilians, he is a super nice guy. He doesn't really give a crap what goes on. He doesn't do the politics. He's a biologist and a scientist. He's actually the most supreme biologist in the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who needs something that they can't figure out always go to him and he figures it out. Um, Incredibly nice guy. Uh,
Wow.
it's the lower dimensional reptilians under him that have been causing havoc.
So it's not a like not all grays are the same, and
No,
not
no.
all. So it's like there's good grays and bad grays. There's good reptilians and bad
Yeah,
reptilians. Just
for
like there's
sure.
good people and bad people.
Yeah,
Same.
so there's over 1,000 different races of reptilians and greys,
Okay.
and not most of them, actually 90% of them, are positive. They're good. And in each race, you have a hierarchy,
Mm-hmm.
same as what we do. We have the elites, and then the middle class, and then us. And the same in the reptilians on the moon. You've got your top dogs, then or the top reptilians, the middle and the lower. And it's the middle and the lower that cause the problems. But in the middle is
Yeah.
where they're 50% positive and 50% negative, much like humans. The higher
Right.
ones are more positive. So it really is interesting. You can't say the reptilians are bad because it's just not true.
Yeah.
Some of them, I mean, even if you look at humans that do bad things, they do it for a reason. And if we understand that reason, and if we understand what life actually means and what life is, then we know that there's no such thing as bad.
Yeah.
And
Well.
people have said to me, "Oh, the Anunnaki came and took over, and we've been slavery. It's a bad thing." But what if it's actually been a good thing? What if the Anunnaki came and took over Earth to show us how powerful we are, to give us an opportunity to find and discover ourselves and our true power and strength and light within? So
Mm-hmm.
you can take everything as positive and negative. And I see the reptilian as a positive.
And what would your impression of humanity be if you met, Stalin was your example or something? It's like it wouldn't be very good, right? Well, those guys are, a bunch of dicks who came in and slaughtered everybody on Mars, right? As
But
opposed to
again, it depends on what vibrational frequency you're in and what level of consciousness you are.
yeah.
Years ago, I would have said he's a mass murderer, he's a dictator, all of that. Now I would say, yes, he was all of that, but he's also someone giving an opportunity to his people to see how powerful they are and if they can unify themselves to collectively to rise up and find their own strength. So it's also a positive.
Okay, Lucky Me says, will the wand heal knees and meniscus injuries? I would think, yeah,
Yeah,
based on what you said. Yeah, of course
yeah.
it would. Well, somebody claiming to be Wolverine over on Rumble says, Mike would love the wand, no more Viagra. You're funny. I like that. I hope that is you, Wolvie, because I want to pay you back for that. Okay. I take care of a girl with bilateral Sturge Weber. Will medbeds allow her to walk and talk? She's 7. I think the answer is yeah. It
Yeah, yeah, of
fixes
course.
neurological problems pretty easily, right?
Medbeds will heal and cure every single thing that's physical. So there is nothing that is wrong with the physical body that the medbeds can't heal. Some
Yeah.
cases may need 2 or 3 treatments depending on the severity. Some cases may need rehabilitation and post rehabilitation.
Mhm.
But everything will be healed. Everybody will be perfect physically, 100%.
You know,
Perfect.
I completely forgot that I asked Mark Z if he wanted to come on and say hi. Is that okay with you? I'll send him
Yeah,
a text. It is okay.
yeah, go for it.
Hang on. I completely forgot I was going to ask you if you wanted to come on and say hi to Kerrie. If you do, just let me know and I'll send you a link. Okay. I'd forgotten that because somebody reminded me, aren't you going to bring Mark Z on? And I'm like, oh, because Mark wanted to say hi and stuff. And yeah, Mark has M MD, not MS, but those like neurological problems are all
Yeah,
fixable, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
God, what's it going to be like? What's it going to be like for him? And I don't want to, pity poor Mark because he does pretty well given his condition, but to be able to just stand and walk. I had a lady come into one of the streams we did, and she said, "I had a dream last night that I saw you in Detroit in a bar," and I'm like, "That makes sense. There's a reason for that." And Mark was with you, and he stood up and shook my hand, and he was a little wobbly, like he had just gotten his. But I'm like,
Hmm.
that's a nice dream, and
Yeah.
we can all hope that it happens soon.
Yeah.
Uh,
People like Mark will need rehabilitation after probably a couple of weeks just to
yeah,
reconnect the brain with the limbs and
yeah,
all of that, and to
yeah,
get over the shock, because it is a huge shock.
yeah.
It really is a massive shock. Even, someone who's been sick all their life to all
Mm,
of a sudden feel healthy, it is a major, major shock to the mind. So a
yeah.
lot of people will be having counselling, including my mum. She's 80 and a general healing will take her back to a healthy 40 or 50-year-old.
Hmm.
40 or 50-year-olds healthy,
It's a
she's not
whole,
going to know herself. It's a whole
yeah,
different thing.
yeah. It's a lot
So
different
it
than
does
being,
mess with your mind.
yeah. I have a friend who's fighting cancer and been fighting it for a while and doing okay, hanging in there. But she wanted to know, are there any side effects? Because she's so used to side effects from. Are there any side effects to med beds, or do you just basically wake up and feel great?
There are side effects, one, and that's feeling great,
Okay.
which makes you want to go back again and again and again to get that really great feeling. The For people who have had who has age regression or
Hmm.
major procedures, they will feel dizzy. They
Hmm.
will feel like they're a bit, head spin. That's when you need to not drive, okay, for 24 to 48 hours. Don't do anything. Don't make any important decisions.
Hmm.
Drink plenty of fluids and just ground yourself. Really meditate to ground yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. But other than that, people that have addictive personalities
Right.
can become addicted to the med beds and will come up with problems that they have to get a med bed treatment to get that high.
You'll be able
Um,
to see through. I
so
would think you'd be the scan. You'll be
yeah,
able to see through that.
absolutely, absolutely. And the one thing with med beds, and I was talking to my nephew, um, he is 10 or 11, I think,
Hmm.
and he always pretends to be sick so he doesn't have to go to school. And I said, well, you won't be able to do that anymore
Yeah.
because the med bed will pick it up. And he
Yeah.
said, but can't I just use the med bed to feel good? I said, no, no, you
Yeah.
can't.
No. No.
You can't. You have to
No.
work through it. So
Yeah. It's only for when you need it. It's not.
exactly, that's
It's not.
right. Which
It's
is
not
going to hurt a
recreation.
lot of people.
Yeah. It's not recreational entertainment. There's plenty of other stuff.
No, but at the same time, I hope to have an education med bed, a consciousness education centre.
Hmm.
I will be using the med bed to change my appearance a lot to trigger the staff, just to see everyone's doing the right thing, just to see their reactions, especially the security guys. Um, you know, just have some fun. Why not?
Oh. And what is that appearance going to be, Kerrie? I mean, I've heard you say things about I can't wait to wake up with a bikini body and things like that. You gonna be like the hot supermodel girl? You got to
I'll show you.
yeah.
I already have what I want to look like.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll come to
Which
Australia and take you out if you're looking. If you no, not that I wouldn't do it. Okay, that was a terrible thing to say. I'm so sorry. All right. Well, we can be
but
friends.
I
We're gonna be friends, Kerrie, if you in the future.
but I used to have a body like that when I was riding when I was younger,
Right.
so
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's not new. I was asked many times to be a model and all that fakery and pretending and like
Yeah.
no. And I'm camera shy too, or I was. So
Yeah.
no,
That's odd.
not gonna happen.
That's odd. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what about things you don't want fixed? I.e., a vasectomy. I'm. Can you
Mhm.
like? I've had a vasectomy, and right now I
Yep.
don't want to have kids. But like, if I were to get together with this younger girl, she does want to have kids. I might decide to reverse that or not. But could I
Correct.
say, I don't want you to fix the vasectomy right
Yep,
now? I'll make another
for sure.
appointment. Okay.
Yep,
That's
absolutely. And it's the
you.
same with women. With women, you can basically turn off that monthly time until
Mhm.
you're ready to have a child and then turn it back on.
Oh, no
So,
more
yeah,
periods. Oh, that would be
no more
great.
period. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mark. Mark is away from his house, so he's probably not. He's 30 to 45 minutes away. So Mark's not gonna make it. But maybe we'll do this again sometime, and we'll have
Sure.
Mark and Wendy on too, or something. That would be fun.
No
Uh,
problem.
have you on our post RV celebration too? Okay. These are military technology controlled by the military right now. That's correct, right?
Well, the technology is given to the military or given to the elites in a deal by the Pleiadians.
Hmm.
And the Pleiadians gave it to them with a little bit of assembly required.
Okay.
They didn't give it to them just straight because the Pleiadians and the higher dimensionals is all about us learning. They're not
Hmm.
just going to give it to us. They'll give us the basics and then we have to figure out the rest, which is what they did. They reverse engineered it. They created other technology from it. They've done a whole bunch of stuff with it. And it took them a while until about the 70s to really get it 100%.
Hmm.
And then that's what we've been using since the 50s.
But then,
But it wasn't perfect.
if it only works if you're at a certain frequency, then all the evil demons
No,
themselves, they're not. I mean, that's why I look at Bill Clinton, I look at the Rothschilds, and they're old. And I'm like, why don't they use med beds, or do they pretend to die and then go med bed themselves? And I'm like, but it makes sense when you said that. It made a lot of sense that it just doesn't work on them, right?
that's right, because they sold their soul.
Mm,
So it doesn't work on people that exchange themselves for power.
okay, okay.
So yeah, that's why they do adrenochrome, because the med beds don't work for them.
Yeah. I saw something extraordinary. My brother pointed it out to me. It's a screenshot from the film A Clockwork Orange by Stanley Kubrick
Hmm.
back in 1971, I think it was.
Yep.
And they're in this milk bar with where they put mescaline into the milk, whatever. But on the painted on the wall behind Alex, it says adrenochrome. So he knew about the Hollywood elite stuff.
Hmm.
Hell, in
Yep.
1971. It's just amazing.
Exactly. Been going a long time.
Yeah, sick stuff. Really sick stuff. I don't know if we're ever gonna find out the truth about it. I wish we would, but um okay, let's see what else we have here. Uh, yeah, the med bed will be able to sense if you're good or bad. If you're cabal, then it's not gonna
Yep.
work. Um
It won't turn on. It just won't activate.
yeah,
And same with if somebody comes into the center or manages to get into the center with a gun or something, demanding that their child or their husband or wife be treated. If there's somebody on the med bed having a treatment, the med bed will sustain their life,
yeah.
but will shut down completely.
Oh, I got
It
another.
just won't activate.
I'm sorry to keep bringing up the sex questions, but this is what I'm getting from people. There's women out there that have implants that want to know if they can, what will happen to those, or do they have to have them removed first? And can they just have natural big boobs made? Which I think the answer to that.
Absolutely. So the med bed will dissolve all implants, and this is what the scan procedure is for before
Mhm.
the treatment. You can design how big and what shape you want to have.
Right.
So you'll come out with perfectly natural breasts.
Yes. Somebody says more young women want older men because they're more mature and caring. Well, that may be true, probably true, but when you're young, you have a lot of ego. You also have a lot of testosterone. Not going to ask questions about the pole shift. That would be another show. We can talk about that kind of stuff. Um, okay. And how important is meditation to the process? Is it necessary? Because I have a hard time shutting my brain down and
It's
meditating.
not necessary. It really isn't necessary. The whole idea of meditation is to be in the flow state and to be mindful. When you do something you enjoy, you're
Mhm.
in that state already. So
Okay.
when I go ride my horse, I'm in that state.
You're
I
in
don't
that.
have to meditate. I'm in that state already.
Well, I mean,
Gardening, drawing, painting. Yeah.
to me, it's a
Even
state.
hiking.
Yeah, to me, it's a state of contentment and like
Exactly. Yeah.
petting my cat, listening to her purr, watching Manchester City win. I'm a happy person. That's
Every
my
time you're enjoying something that you're doing, you're in that meditative state.
right. Okay, so
Real.
here's one I haven't heard before asked. Will a med bed be able to separate Siamese twins?
Yes.
That would be, I think, amazing. So it's
Yeah.
okay. You have people in it.
Yeah, it'll take 2 med beds and
Mhm.
a team.
Okay.
So what will happen is they'll put the Siamese twins on the bed, and they will do the separation.
Right.
And then they will put both in separate med beds side by side, most likely, and
Okay.
then they'll get a full healing in the 3rd med bed. So it'll be a full detailed healing. So they'll both come out absolutely perfect.
God, can you imagine fixing something like that? That
Yeah.
would world. I sometimes think to myself when I'm on an airplane at 37,000 feet, and I'm chatting with somebody. I'm over Michigan and she's in Madrid, and I'm chatting with her live, and I'm like, what an amazing freaking world we live in, because this was not even
Yeah.
this was unthinkable 25 years ago. Imagine with this stuff what our world's going to be like in
Yeah.
25 years. It's going to be
Yeah, that's right. Look at the
it's going to
movie
be Star Trek.
Independence Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
It'll-
imagine that, or the second Independence Day, 20 years later.
yeah.
Everything is just totally different. And as soon as we get full ET disclosure, that's pretty much what it's going to be like.
I think that's 5 years. I don't think that happens for 5 years myself, but that's just what I think.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
um,
Consciousness is not ready for it yet.
no. Shaylin wants to know, she has a child or knows a child with a shaken baby syndrome. Will it be able to fix that? And yeah.
Absolutely. Everything physical.
Yeah. That's the thing, guys. Everything physical. My grandson had heart surgery 3 days after being born. Can a med bed give him a normal heart? Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. Paralyzed from the neck down. Yep. He's gonna get fixed on that for sure. Down syndrome. Will the med bed fix her
Yep.
issues?
Absolutely.
Migraines. What about getting rid of I get migraines, not that frequently, but enough that it's annoying.
It depends on the cause of the migraines. So the scan procedure will be able to tell you what the cause is. And if it is a physical cause, then yes, absolutely. I get a migraine every time we have a solar flare, a massive solar flare.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
for about 4 days.
Wow, that sucks. And also, there's different levels of migraine. I'm lucky at this point in my life that I don't really have much pain anymore, but I do get very weak and tired, and
Yeah, sure.
not much in the way of pain. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, I'm trying to see if there's any other. I'm just trying to look for questions that are not. Okay, you have a friend. Would a med bed help my friend's son who's paralyzed from the neck down? Yes, they can fix that. They can absolutely fix that, because it's basically just taking your DNA programming, and fixing it, right? It just fixes it.
Yeah, restoring it to its original. So because our DNA has been so badly changed because of the bad ones or the dark ones,
Yeah.
it basically just reverses all of that and restores you to perfection, literally in every way, physically.
Yeah. MJ Cardwell, yeah, the metal in your body from joint and bone repairs, yes, that will all be removed. What about assisting in giving birth? That's an interesting question. Will it make the birth process easier?
The pregnant woman can use the med beds and will be encouraged to use the med beds both to check on and heal any issues with the mother and baby. But the actual birthing process, we have what you call a mat and what I believe is called a cube. I haven't actually seen it. I've been shown it telepathically, where you lay this mat on any surface. Sorry, she's closing the veranda. On any surface, it can be the floor, it can be a normal bed, it can be the kitchen table, any surface at all. And what that does is the technology in that mat calms the woman and starts to reduce any pain and relax all the muscles and everything. Then they've got this cube, and it's about that big. It goes under the woman's breast, so above the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And as the baby works its way down, this cube pushes the baby down gently while relaxing all the muscles and everything. So it's kind of like an epidural where
Wow.
you don't actually feel anything. You don't even feel the pressure. Everything just, you feel a slight vibration, I believe, but that's
Yeah.
about it. And
Wow.
then the medical team just assists the baby while the woman is probably sipping some kind of champagne or something in complete euphoric state.
That sounds
So,
better than the current
yeah.
process. Sure, absolutely. Okay, let's assume I'm in a car accident and I'm dead at the scene, and an ambulance comes and it's got a wand or a basic, thing.
Yep.
How long do I have before my spirit leaves the body? What if they don't find the body for 3 or 4 days? Can my spirit still be restored to the body?
So there must be 5% brain activity for the physical body to be healed in the medbed.
Okay.
So if the body has been dead for 4 or 5 days, then no, the spirit's already passed. However, if the spirit's choice is to continue life, then what we can do is provide another physical body using their DNA and grow a body, almost like cloning, but it's not
Mm,
cloning.
okay.
Just basically take your own DNA and regrow the body from scratch.
Yeah.
Perfect, healthy, everything. I believe that can take up to 3 days, up to 72 hours, depending on the age of what you want the body to be grown. And then using the med beds, the, the, the spirit will then enter that body, and the med beds will make sure the spirit and the body is completely connected. And then you literally get up, and then it's about 48 hours before you walk out of the medbed centre, perfect health, ready to start again. So
But
within
would
5 days, they have a whole new body ready to continue life.
Wow, but would you have all the memories of heaven,
Yes,
the time you spent there? That would be amazing.
what
That
you
would be
need, what you need. So all
wow.
the information that you bring back will be what you need.
What you need, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'll be Daniel Brinkley then at that point. So I don't know. I don't know if you know who Daniel Brinkley is, but
I
he's been
do.
dead. He's been dead like 6 times. Wonderful guy. Wonderful, great,
Yeah.
great guy to hang out with. Been struck by lightning 5 or 6 times. I have a kitty that I miss very much, and I have a kitty now that I love a lot, but I have a kitty that I miss very much, and I have her DNA. I have some of her fur. Is it possible or even desirable to use this technology once, obviously we have to cure all the really sick people first. That's top priority. No, oh
Yeah.
gee, Mike has a bad stomach and a little acid reflux, and he'd like, he'd like
Yeah.
he'd like to not have, he'd like to be a little younger. That's a whole different thing than somebody who's really sick with cancer or something. But what if we reach the point where could I take this kitty and use that DNA and have her body rebuilt again? Is there any way to bring that spirit back into that body, or is that just not something that we can do? She's
That
been gone 2 years.
the medbeds can do that, but will not be allowed to do that because that lifetime has already passed. What you can do is regrow the body, and with the another soul contract of the same spirit with
Hmm.
an agreement can come back into that body. Now I'll give you a little thing. My very first horse passed 15, nearly 20 years ago.
Hmm.
About 15 years ago, I just started my mediumship development. And he was my best friend. I got him when I was 9 years old. He taught me everything I know. He was literally my one and only friend. And when he passed, that just shook my world. I couldn't do anything for about 6 months. Couldn't even think of spirit, couldn't even think or see a photo of him, couldn't even look at my other horses because I was in such grief.
Grief, yeah.
When I purchased my new horse, mind you, he was a 25-year-old gelding and my new horse is a 5-year-old mare,
Hmm.
I started noticing certain things which I remember that my other horse used to do. The way he looked at me, the way I felt safe with him, his whole energy. And that got me thinking, oh, hang on a second, this just seems really, really weird. And then about 2 weeks ago, when I was grooming her, and we just caught our eyes. Our eyes just met at that one split second, and I saw my old horse. And his spirit has incarnated into this horse to continue life with me.
Right.
And that is another incarnation, lifetimes apart.
Mm-hmm.
So with the med beds, we can bring the body back. It's not advisable to, but we can bring the body back with the agreement of that particular spirit
Okay.
to continue life, not to start a new one. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that'll only happen in the 5D new Earth, not the
Yeah,
transitional Earth,
probably.
because
Right.
we're not really ready for that yet.
Well, yeah, and
That's
also
a whole nother level.
Y yeah, somebody set this up for a reason too, that animal that
Yeah,
we would have these pets that we would love, and they would only stay with us for 10 or 15 years or something. That I mean, it was set up that way
yeah,
for a reason, so
exactly.
I assume we should res I think we should respect that reason of the maker or God or however you wanna name
Yeah.
him or
And
her.
then we have to remember too, if they've passed for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and then we bring them back, their mindset won't be the same, even
Yeah,
if they have the same spirit, because the vibration's different, the environment's different, you're different.
right,
So your perception of them, meaning their reality, is going to be different. So they're going to behave differently. Therefore, they're not the same animal.
right.
Even with the same spirit and the same body, they're still not going to be the same.
So
So
it wouldn't be worth it because if it's not
no,
not
I
the
wouldn't.
same little girl that left. I don't, it won't work. Like the kitty I have now, Miss Fluffy Muffy, is the reincarnation of a kitty I had in 2003, Cleo. And I
Yep,
arranged this all with Aurora, who's the kitty I'm talking about bringing back, and my pet psychic, and it was this whole arrangement made and contract sealed and everything for her to come in, but she's not the same. She's not the exact same
that's
kitty. There's
right.
a couple of similarities, but
Yeah,
she's a new kitty living a different life than that first kitty did.
exactly. Exactly. And one thing that I was told with my horse is do not compare the two. Even though it's the same spirit,
Hmm.
they're still in a different body. They're still got, different mindset, different personalities. There's
Right,
similarities, but
right.
they're not the same.
They're not the same.
So we, even
You
if you
gotta
did
grow.
bring your cat back, we still can't treat them as the same
Yeah,
because they would be different because of the time difference and the vibrational difference. And you have grown yourself, so
and
they wouldn't see
Earth
you
is
the same.
God knows how many millions of miles away from where it was when they left, and so we're in a
Exactly.
physical environment, and everything vibrationally and energetically is different. So yeah,
That's right.
it
Yeah.
makes a lot. Okay, I can't. I have no musical talent whatsoever. It was not one of the
Same.
gifts I chose. I think we all choose our gifts, and music was not one of them. But
Yep.
I can hear beautiful music and appreciate it. I just can't. I can't sing. I mean, I had another kitty, Indy, little tuxedo kitty, and she would like be laying on me, and a song would come on, and I'd start to sing along with it, and she would get up and jump off the bed and leave the room. Like that's how bad my singing voice is. I remember going to karaoke with my friends and people looking at me just like, "Oh my god," I can't sing, I can't play any instruments. Um, I I would like I would like it. So I have questions about: can they change my singing voice, not necessarily my speaking voice, because I want the same voice. Can they change it? Like, and would it be like, okay, we're gonna take your voice, but it's gonna be just like what your voice would sound like if you could sing? That's one option. Or can I sound exactly like Elton John, or can I sound exactly like Tom Jones if I want to? Is that
The
something that
med,
they can program?
yeah, yeah. Look, the med beds can do that. They can give you the exact same voice as somebody else, but they won't. They absolutely won't. They can, if you want to change your voice, they can just retune the frequency of your voice, which would keep your same talking voice, but your
Mhm.
singing voice would be slightly different because it's tuned
But would
differently in the
I'm part of
frequency.
being able to, like, hear a tune and carry a tune and stay in key and that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
you can learn all that. You can have all that downloaded and change the frequency, but you'd still have to practice.
Right.
So it's not as though you can go in the med bed, have all this done, and then go on stage and,
Well,
and perform. You would
can
actually need to practice.
they program in the ability for me to play the guitar and play the piano? I mean, obviously, I still
Yep,
have to practice
absolutely.
'cause
Yeah, but you still need to practice.
Right, because I'd like to learn. I'd like to be able to go to karaoke and not embarrass. Like I'd love to like. What is my singing voice? I'd love to find out. Do I sound like Simon Le Bon, or do I sound like somebody? Who do I sound? Robin? Who do I sound like? Do I sound like Gene Simmons? God forbid, of Kiss or something. It would, and then there's a guy. Dave and I like to go to the Bellagio Hotel here, and they have this wonderful lobby with Chihuly glass sculptures of flowers, and there's a piano bar there. It serves caviar and everything. And there's this guy who just plays the piano, and he just he doesn't sing or anything, and I was like, God, I just love to be able to do that. To just it feels like something so out of reach for me. That I would like to be, not to necessarily take his job, but just it would be great to be able to sit down and just play a
Yeah,
tune. So
yeah.
they can
Well,
help you.
I asked this with Archangel Sandalphon. I said, "Can I change my voice? I really want to change my singing voice." And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I sound like nails on a chalkboard."
Yeah, they terrify
And
people.
yeah, that's right. And he said, "Why do you want to sing?" And I said, "Because I enjoy it." And he
Mhm.
said, "Are you going on stage?" I said, "No." "Are you recording music?" I said, "No." And he said, "So you love to sing, so why not just sing? Why do you need to change your voice because you love something?" He
Yeah,
said, "Just sing. When
yeah,
you love something so much, it doesn't matter what you sound like, it's your heart that comes through, and that's what people resonate with, not the sound." So again, this is where we get into deep consciousness of why we do things. And this is what the med beds are being introduced to think
yeah,
about our choices, our beliefs, and why why we hold those beliefs and choices. So where I wanted to change my singing voice so I could sing while I'm cleaning out the stables,
yeah.
why? Who's going to hear
Well,
me?
I might like
Me.
to, I
So,
might like to sing some karaoke with my friends, and
well, that's right.
terrify my cats, and who knows, maybe start a cover band or something. So that would be fun. That would be
But see, there's a difference because you want to sing for your friends.
fun.
You have
Mhm.
a purpose for it.
Okay,
Therefore, you would be able to change your singing voice,
okay, okay,
okay? Because you have a purpose for it. It's not just because you love doing it. You want to share your gift, and therefore your gift will be enhanced because of your heart wanting to share it.
okay. Interesting.
Again,
All right. I know it's been long, and I'll let you go here pretty soon, but I want to get a few questions from YouTube. Cynthia says it's a great interview. Finally learned Sky's backstory. Yeah, well, that's kind of what I wanted to get to. Let's not ask her any questions about. Let's stick it to med beds, guys. I don't really want to ask you about chemtrails or anything like that. Um, Born Free says, Kerrie, do you know when the med beds will be available, for instance, a young child with type 1 diabetes? Everybody's
well,
always asking, when's the RV? When's it's like,
I know.
it gotta be soon. God, it's gotta be soon, right?
The thing is, we don't know. Nobody actually knows except the ones that's going to release it. And they're not talking. They're not on social media. They're
Yeah.
not, they're under an NDA. You're not going to find out the truth until it actually happens. So we don't know. When the med beds are available, everybody will be triaged according to their need. A lot of people say children, elderly, and the vets first. No,
Hmm.
it's according to your need. So
Right.
a child with type 1 diabetes, depending on the severity of it, might be further down the list than a child with advanced leukemia.
Right. Or even
Okay,
a veteran who's lost a limb. If he's
that's right.
otherwise healthy, you're gonna wait a while longer than somebody who's
Exactly,
got, yeah, stage four.
exactly right. So it's all triage. If you know anything about emergency departments or emergency, you know about triage, and that's exactly how it's going to be. It doesn't matter age or military status or whatever. It makes no
Yeah.
difference. The most severe and needy go first.
Yeah.
Someone who stubs their toe will be waiting for maybe a year. So yeah,
And by the way, white hats, if you're out there, would you get going, please? This is ridiculous.
please,
Well,
please.
I mean, everybody it seems like is ready to go forward with this, except the people who have their finger on the button.
That's
And
right.
we're really tired of your excuses, by the way. So can we just get on? We're all ready. We're ready to go do this. So let's go do
Yeah.
it. Someone wants to know if you have an email address that people can send you or questions, I guess.
Yeah.
Or
My
no?
email is info, info, dot camelot at proton dot me. Info.camelot at proton.me.
Not me. Okay, I'll put that in the
Yeah.
chat. And I'll get it over to the Rumble chat here before we go. Um, I'm projecting my thoughts ahead of time. Okay, well, okay, this is interesting. If you know you're not an evil person, but you're also not a saint, does the med bed still work for you? That's an interesting question.
I guess the quantum computer will decide.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're self-aware enough to say I'm not an I'm not a saint, then I think you're aware enough you'll probably pass the test as
Yeah.
it comes up. So,
Sorry about that. My brother decided to wash down the top veranda and it sounds like it's raining.
that's fine. My wife is not sure. 35 is the age I would like. I think me too. My wife is not sure if she wants a med bed. Things to be thought about. She's gonna have to be a cougar. That's another thing. This is interesting. What if one person chooses to go back in time and another person doesn't? This could break up marriages.
Yeah,
I mean, it's there's a lot of things to consider, and there are
that's
probably
right.
people that are grandparents that don't want to go back and have kids again, or somebody like me
Exactly.
who never had kids, who might in after two more lifetimes accomplishing everything I want to accomplish. Maybe the third one I'll go back and live on a farm and have kids. I mean,
Yeah.
how does
This
how
is,
does that
yeah. This is the thing with med beds. It's not just the fact of going and getting healed. There's a lot of complications socially and within the family environment that has to be considered. And this is one reason why age regression will not be given all that often, because most people who are aware are the black sheep of the family, and the rest of the family thinks they're nuts and they're not ready.
that's
So if
exactly it.
you can imagine, if you're living in your household with your full family and they're already calling you a conspiracy theorist and crazy,
Right.
they might kick you out after and never talk to you again after you have an age regression or something like that. So it is a lot to think about.
That's
It
so
really is.
true. That's so
Yeah,
true because there's all these people like when we would be debating Mars and the face on Mars and things like that, and there were all these people who acted like they wanted to know and they were really into it, but then when we would have proof, we would say, look, here's
yeah,
like this is clearly structural stuff. This is clearly manufactured.
yeah.
The more proof we showed them, the more resistant they got, and then they actually got
That's
pissed
right.
off at us for
Yeah,
showing them that they were right. So it's like when you
exactly.
show somebody, I've been right all along, simply by being who you are, you're
Yep.
gonna, you might go make another family because your
Yeah.
family loves you. It's not who you were born to, right? At least
No,
that's what.
that's right. Exactly. And also we have to take in consideration those of us who live with religious people. You go and use a med bed or even think about using it and they'll call you demonic and they won't want you anywhere near them again. So
Yeah.
it
Okay.
really is going to destroy lives as well as save lives. So we have to be careful about how we approach it. And I think that this is why it's taken so long, because the collective consciousness just isn't ready.
Yeah.
It really isn't. So it's only ready for maybe 30% of the population.
Well, I think it needs to get ready now because, after all, I predicted that we would go through this thing between 2012 and 2024. So the clock's running out. So we need to get on with
A
this.
few more days.
Otherwise, Mike might be wrong for the first time in his life, and we don't want that to happen. Steve Carlson says, before I received an inherited kidney disease, I was very much in a high love flow. I now have dialysis 5 days a week. I'm tired and irritated. Can the med bed see my state beyond my sickness? That's a really interesting question. In other
Yeah.
words, the sickness has made her a more pissed off person. So, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, same with the scan at the redemption appointment if you're seeking humanitarian funds, because I asked about this. And because, as you guys know, I live in a motel, I'm homeless. And I said, a lot of the time, this is about a year ago now, I said, a lot of the time I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm emotional. I'm low vibrational. And they said, no, you're not, because the scan actually measures your heart frequency, and your heart frequency is not affected by your health or your environment or your mental state. Your heart is who you are. It's not what you experience or who you think you have become.
Right.
So with the med beds as well, the scan and the bed will actually see your heart frequency. That's who you truly are, getting rid of all the external noise. So
And
including the sickness.
and here's Kerrie asking the same question. Kira, I think, can I evaluate my level prior to the med bed? Sweetie, if you're even thinking about, am I good enough? Am I don't think you have anything to worry about. I think you're going to be
Yeah,
fine.
exactly.
All right, here's another question. And I know you probably want to go. You're probably bored out of your mind at this point.
That's right.
But you got to get on with your day. I love, there's a lot of things about three-dimensional reality I love. I love having a great steak. I love having a good beer. I love a good bottle of wine. I want to eat steak, but I don't want to
Mhm.
kill a cow to do that anymore. And
Yep.
with people have talked about frankenfoods and plants and corn and tomatoes. We can grow them bigger and healthier and all that. And people really didn't like that. But I'm wondering, is there going to be a way using medbed technology or some other related technology? Am I going to be able to go to the restaurant, a steakhouse, and have a fillet and not have to have a cow slaughtered to have my steak? Is that a future we can expect? Or
Replicators, absolutely. Replicators are coming with the med beds, so
okay.
not a problem.
So, and then what happens to the animals? Because if I mean, we have so many of them now. If we
Mhm.
don't, there's always that argument. Well, if we don't have hunting and we don't slaughter the deer, and I do think the human race should still know how to hunt and kill and eat in case the asteroid hits, right?
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
um, what happens to the animals then? Are we going to start sterilizing them so that we don't have too many cows and chickens and squirrels?
Yeah, so basically the breeding of the domesticated animals like the cattle and all of that will stop. So then it will just become natural breeding.
Okay.
And remember, animals don't need our help or assistance in their population control. They control themselves. It's nature's way of controlling the populations of each animal species themselves.
Hasn't that always a lot of times been starvation and stuff? I mean, we don't want that to happen, right?
It has, but again, remember that because we're all going to live longer, including the animals, because the higher frequency, the breeding process will eventually slow down. So where a dog, let's say a dog has 10 puppies every 8 months, it might be 10 puppies every 3 or 4 years, because the vibrational frequency will be higher. Therefore, there'll be less breeding because everybody will be living longer. So the natural process will be slowed down.
Yeah.
So with the animals we breed for slaughter, the breeding will stop and the animals will, naturally die of old age. And this is where a lot of humanitarian projects will come in to take care of those animals.
Yeah. So it will normalize, stabilize.
It will normalize, yeah.
Okay. Couple things. Klingon in the house says, I believe I did see a video of you from about 11 years ago riding a horse and doing the jump rounds at a competition. You look
Mhm.
great. So relaxed. So that'll be fun. And Mary Bentley says she follows you on your channel. She's also a horse person. So, all right,
Beautiful.
guys.
Thank you.
Kerrie, I've kept you a long time. I absolutely appreciate this. Do you want to tell everybody where they can find you and, anything you want to finish, a message you want to send to people before we let
Just a message I gave this morning, which I think is really important. Remember, what you focus on will become your reality. If you focus on the negativity in life, that's exactly what you'll get more of. You need to focus on the positive. You need to see the life you want to experience and be that person that you want to be um, in that reality. If we're focusing on what the deep state's doing, if we're focusing on all the pedophilia and the satanic agenda, then we're going to get more of that. And, you can't manifest something positive if you're in a negative mindset.
yeah.
So really be careful in where your focus is going. And then that way you'll be sure to experience the positive in life.
Yeah.
And this is something that a lot of people, I notice in the Den on Wolvie's channel, it's all, every single post is negative. It's all low vibrational. It's all exposing the dark ones, and there's nothing really positive in there at all. And you can really see where people's mindset is. And unfortunately, it's those mindsets that's not going to experience the beautiful things in life.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna predominate if that's
it
where you're
is.
focused. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
tough though. I mean, I get pissed. I mean, I first knew about the RV in 2009, and it was scheduled then for June 30th, 2011. And that's how long I've been waiting for them to get around to this. Of course, then it was only going to be the DNR and everything else. So I get pissed too.
Yeah.
I can't bring that into my show. I mean, you know, you have to try to have faith. And
Yeah.
I will remind everybody that, you know, everything that I've heard about Nasara almost and Jasara, right? These supposedly, the new global agreements for the new world, all that stuff. I mean, and other things that I heard separately from people that had some military backgrounds. Literally, Trump is talking about everything, every one of these things. He's talking about getting rid of the income tax. He's talking about getting rid of a lot of these government agencies. He's talking about, you know, peace in the middle in in Ukraine. These areas of Ukraine that Russia's holding, you know, they were promised to Putin, 2015. And so there's all these changes that are going to I hear the United States and Australia and New Zealand and Canada and maybe even England are going to be part of a big commonwealth. We're all going to be under the sort of the same thing. And so
Yep.
keep in mind that if you look at the Nasara documents, you look at the rumor mill about what Nasara is, basically Trump's talking about doing all of these things. And if he's
That's
talking
right.
about them, then that means he knows. And, you know, Trump's not a god, but he knows. And that's what we're working towards. So
Yeah,
try to
that's
have.
right. Yeah, and if he's talking about it, he's already done it. Just like the movies, if they're exposing something like the superhero movies, it's already happening. I remember ages ago, well, when Jurassic Park came out, if they're showing it in movies, they've already done it 20 years ago, just exposing it now. So if Trump's talking about all of this, it's already enacted, it's already going. He's just telling it to the people
Yeah.
now. So, yeah, it's already happening, all of it.
Which is scary. The whole Velociraptor thing is not really where I want to go. But I'm more into the Star Trek future, not the Velociraptor future. So thank you. All right, Kerrie, thank you so much for coming in and spending so much time with us. We really appreciate it. Gosh, we went over 2 hours. I'm sorry
Not
to
a
keep you that
problem. It's a
long.
pleasure. It's been fun.
It was great. And you can reach Kerrie at info.camelot@proton.me. Kerrie, thank you very much for being here. We'll have to do this again sometime. Maybe we'll just do a quicker question and answer or something else.
Not a
But
problem.
thank you so much for
It's an
sharing.
honor and a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And for me too. So thank you for being here. And we had about 3,000 people here at the peak, which is pretty good for this show. I appreciate
Beautiful.
each and every one of you. Jen and I will be back on Monday, the day before New Year's Eve. And I want everybody to have a wonderful weekend. And we want the Los Angeles Rams to lose. We want that to happen. So stay there. All right.